The Italians. This poem corresponds to chapter 9 of Yuppies Invade My House at Dinner Time. In the book, the title of the chapter is Write Your Congressman About Those Italians. So in these letters, you can certainly see a lasting effect from the feast fighting. And I decided to touch on this ongoing identity crisis of who's a yuppie, who's a Yorkie, who's a puppy, and things of that nature. And especially tie that into how there's a generational divide, which adds to the layers of distrust within the city that's reflected in the letters. There are a couple of details I included in this poem that are actually not present in this chapter, but they're related, so I decided to use those to add to it. So there is a bit about the writer who renames herself in her sign-off as Egg Lady, or the Egg Lady, because she is pelted by eggs, because some schoolboys think that she's a yuppie, and so they're all kind of fueled with this hatred, probably from their parents, toward yuppies. But then she goes on to claim that she can't be a yuppie because she's not in the age bracket and she doesn't make quite enough money and things of that nature. So this is part of the identity crisis. And there's also a reference at the end of the second stanza to this sort of conspiracy theory that Italians are exploiting their children to raise money for the bombs. And that, again, goes back to the feast. Because the Italian Americans were trying to raise money to support the church and this celebration. And so, of course, the other side is sort of claiming that they're exploiting them. Whether we know that is true or not is kind of besides the point. But it just shows more of the drama that plays out in the paper. Okay, the Italians. I'm having an identity crisis. I was ushered into Hoboken and asked how I identify. Am I a yuppie? I was forced to contemplate. If the Reebok fits, I should be fitted with one. But I was egged by some parochial boys and told I was too old. Old? I'm Italian-American, American-Italian, but I'm second generation, so does it count? Should I protest this law to outlaw feast bombing with feast-fighting bombs? Sounds like an inspiring fight, but what about the nights my generation sits down with splayed legs and eager elbows to make room for chamber music, that slick reincarnation of organized sounds? Ah, hypocrisy. I heard that the real Italians exploit their children to raise money for their bombs. Maybe my identity is intact after all. These 17th century folks living in the past, butcher shop and all, smoking outside and watching youth go by, blaming us for our landlord's audacity.